The following videos were created by all of the students who enrolled in my class, which is called Academic Listening and Speaking at NCCU. Last year, my nephew, Chiang Chen, gave me the book Humans of New York because he thought that I would like it. He was right. I have been inspired by the stories and started thinking how to raise students' awareness and how to make students more observant. Only when we open our hearts can we really see what's going on in our surroundings. So here are the stories presented by all of the students in this course. Without their willingness and cooperation, this would not have happened.
The advocate of Hakka culture, Catherine, the cutest girl in the world, devotes herself to inheriting and carrying forward Hakka culture. Born into a Zhongli Hakka family, she identifies as a Hakka. Since she was a child, her mother told her, "Don't lose our Hakka culture, but we should inherit it in your hands." Over the years, most Hakka youngsters don't speak Hakka or identify themselves as Hakka. The cultural decline seemed unstoppable, giving her a sense of cultural anxiety and nostalgia. However, unlike most Hakka youngsters, she is proficient in Hakka. Aside from fluent speaking, she can also express it in words in Hakka Pinyin, which even most Hakka speakers don't understand. Cultural work. Furthermore, she works for Hakka Affairs Council to assist in developing the Hakka language system and building the database. What's more, she used to be a member of the Hakka Youth International Affairs Mission, giving her a chance to go to Europe on an international exchange. It was her first time that stepped out of Taiwan to promote the Hakka culture and show the diverse appearance of Taiwan Hakka. Similarly, she also learned about how other countries preserve their native cultures. For instance, in Catalonia, Spain, all elementary school courses are taught in Catalan, which infuses a new generation with native genes. It is worth learning for us. What is the essence of inheriting culture? Confidence, she said. With firm faith in our culture, we can carry it forward spontaneously. Hakka culture is an indispensable part of Taiwanese culture. We should tell good stories, create more Hakka cultural images recognized worldwide, and strive to show a new chapter for inheriting local culture.
Lev Nachman by Ben. Lev Nachman is a political scientist and currently an assistant professor at NCCU. I was lucky to work with him this semester as his teaching assistant. Lev's research is mainly focusing on the political relationships between Taiwan, Hong Kong, and China. That's the reason why he chose Taiwan to be the base of his research. Actually, this is not the first time he came to Taiwan. He visited NCCU about 10 years ago as an undergraduate exchange student and spent a lot of time here in Taiwan since then. It's quite impressive to be a professor at such a young age, so I asked him whether he has any suggestions for students that are trying to pursue academic career. He mentioned that it's very difficult to be an academic today, and it's a very competitive field. So if we really want to pursue academia and have a research topic that we will want to spend time researching, just go for it. However, it's important to be realistic and recognize the difficulties of choosing this path. What's your inspiration? That's the last topic we'll talk about that afternoon. For Lev, it's trying to make the world a more peaceful place and make the future better for Taiwan and the entire world. That's the biggest motivation for most of Lev's research.
Nestor Ali Vasquez Hernandez, a Venezuelan who has lived in Paraguay for 3 years. During the pandemic, he quit his job in engineering and was ready to devote himself to the education industries. He is full of passion to educate someone who wants to learn Spanish. What he wants to face as a stumbling block is unknown and unpredictable. Not only changing the workplace, but also having to encounter a change in mentality. It's difficult at the start, but he released them right now, and he's enjoying this kind of working methods. Salary becomes one of the feathers in this society, but this Venezuelan has got rid of this chain to adhere to his dream, and he has said that although this path is full of obstacles, it's the opportunity to follow my heart, and also that everything has two sides. Throughout his story, he made me realize that life is too short to let us enjoy whatever we want. But we just need courage or an action. It can turn your life chapter and make your life more meaningful. Don't always think about the negative side. Just do it, and you will figure it out afterward.
A 22-year-old student who is majoring in law and he's a senior schoolmate of the basketball club I studied during this semester. Why he chose law for the major had no special reason. I think it's like parts of us because of the school and didn't rule out this subject. I barely remembered the impression of the first meeting of him, but those were performances on the stadium had catch my eyes gradually. I plucked up my courage to invite him an interview. After the interview, I knew that he's busy preparing the test of graduate school now, but he also not to give up the hobby of playing basketball. Since childhood, he touched with basketball a lot. He's a score team in the senior high school and also now. He feels relaxed during the time like can splash sweat on the field, complete against friends or some happiness beside the study. One cannot abandon his or her interest. Also, we are busy doing some more important projects or preparing big exams and so on. A pressure will one day collapse and have no motivation to continue. The most worry is that your hobby is no longer be your love like before, he told me, and I learned a lot. I usually put all of my energy when I was preparing the big exam, and felt stubborn during those times. Hence, the point I admire him the most is that he can strike a balance well between study and basketball, and shine in both parts of them.
Today, I want to introduce my friend, who is also my neighbor, Kyle Liu, a 10-year magician. We have known each other since elementary school. First time that he came deeply interested in magic was 10 years ago, due to the performance of a Taiwanese magician, Liu Chen. Accordingly, he developed a great passion for learning magic, not only because it looked cool, but also because he was appealed to the amazement and mystery that magic brought him. However, as a beginner, instead of enjoying prolonged applause, he encountered more difficult obstacles. Kyle frequently screwed up his show that he was just a rookie in front of audience. He felt great frustration when he made mistakes during the performance. However, the enthusiasm for playing magic drove him to conquer challenges and keep doing what he loved. Why can you make this so smooth? I said after I watched his performance. Just practice makes perfect, nothing else. He shrugged and replied. After training day by day, he became technologically skilled in magic slide, and also he felt a sense of accomplishment with the significant improvement. 10 years ago, he lacked information about magic. Now, he has established his own magic fans page and started performing for many events such as weddings, national holidays, and even teaching magic. Never give up what you love and stick to it. This is what I learned from my best friend.
我就不碰杯子了，我慢慢把杯子往前推，球放进去了，球放进去了，球放进去了。 可是每次魔术表演到这个地方的时候，都会有观众跟我说，这样太不公平了。你都用3个球跟3个杯子，可是魔术师，观众只有2只眼睛而已，3个球跟3个杯子太不公平了。那魔术棒我也不要用好了，所以呢，我决定把1个球放到抽屉里面，好，放到抽屉里面。所以说我们只要注意这2个球跟2个杯子就好。可是这时候又有观众跟我说，可是人只有1个焦点人有2只眼睛，可是只有1个焦点。所以说我决定再把这个球放到抽屉里面。所以说我们要注意中间这个杯子跟这个球就可以了。那可是为什么呢？我们已经把球放到抽屉里面了，可是为什么呢？这边还是有一个球在这边。好，其实事情是这样子的。我看起来好像把它放到抽屉里面，其实不是，因为我在放到抽屉里面之前呢，我就吹一口气，丢到杯子里面了。所以说抽屉里面是没有东西的，球呢在这个杯子里面。好，那我做最后一次给大家看。这时候我不要吹一口气哦，我确实的把这个球放进抽屉里面哦，我放进抽屉里面哦。可是呢，现在还是有3颗球在这边。
哦哟
，1颗、2颗、3颗。好，告诉大家怎么做，其实有第4颗球，1、2、3，跟这边第4颗球，把它拿起来，吹一口气丢进去里面。这3颗球我确实的把它放到抽屉里面了，放到抽屉里面了。那这颗球呢？第4颗球长得有点像这样子。
哦哟，
好，对你们来说可能是第4颗球，但对我来说是第1颗球而已，因为这边还有第2颗、第3颗，跟这边第4颗球。
有料。
Kaylin's Transformation by Doris. Do you know I used to weigh over 100 kilograms? I was completely stunned while my friend Kaylin, who is very slim, was showing me the selfie he took when he was still overweight. Kaylin had been an obese boy since forever. When he was little, people around him always say, "Don't worry, you will get rid of your chubby cheeks once you grow up." With this faith, Kaylin had never really gone on a diet and lost weight. As a result, his weight escalated as he grew up and skyrocketed in his high school senior year. Finally, the digits on the scale came to 3. Sick and tired of this heavy burden, Kaylin realized it was time to make some changes. After GSAT, he got tons of spare time. That is when he decided to drop a size. First, he started with diet habits. Some principles were established. No processed food, no consumption after 6 p.m., and eating less than before. Carrying the plan out thoroughly for a couple weeks, he dropped 10 kilograms. Unfortunately, he encountered a lost weight plateau. Despite the frustration, Kaylin didn't give up and forced himself to exercise regularly in order to overcome the obstacle. With his efforts, he was getting slimmer and slimmer. In just 1 year, his weight came to 70 kg. He is not only in good shape, but also has a much healthier body now. Although achieving his goal, he still keeps a balanced diet and goes jogging frequently. As the saying goes, actions speak louder than words. We should all quit looking for excuses, put your goals into practice, and make things happen. Don't be afraid of falling down. You can always get back on your feet as long as you keep on trying.
Eddie Wu by Esther Lee. As the saying goes, life is full of ups and downs. However, many people give up when they are in adversity. Unlike those people, Ed is the one I have known who can always amaze everyone by conquering difficulties and turning crises into opportunities. Failing the college entrance exam, Eddie studied in a university he didn't like and started to prepare for transfer exams. Although Eddie didn't succeed on his first attempt, he gave himself a second chance and finally transferred to NCCU. After Eddie entered NCCU, he joined the dancing club. At first, Eddie had difficulties in dancing since he had no dancing foundation. Nevertheless, Eddie didn't give up and became the winner of a dance competition this year. When it comes to tips to conquer adversities, Eddie replied to me with 3 vital factors: modesty, perseverance, and courage. The more modest you are, the more you can learn from others. What's more, only the one who persists may get the chance to succeed. Last but not least, we should always give it a try when we face difficulties. Don't surrender to fate before you try, Andy emphasized. Next time, if you encounter any difficulties, instead of escaping from them, why not try to face them and conquer them?
This is the story about Liu Chunyu. A 22-year-old young man talked about his dream patiently, and we could see through his strong will by the crystal clear eyes. He said if there was another chance, I wish they all would have been treated well by this society and the judicial system. For this wishful young person, the first time his heart was triggered by the documentary called Condemned Practice Mode, which is based on the story of Mr. Xu Ziqiang. This Huang Chenshu murder case happened in 1995, and she was charged with co-defendants, but later found not guilty in this murder after 21 times of criminal procedures. He got compensation because of a misjudgment. Chen Yu said that he truly felt deflated and frustrated over how Mr. Xi's most precious time was dissipated in the repetitive appeals. At the same time, he was incapable of dealing such plight of them when merely being a high school young student. So he determined to devote himself to this social issue in the future, just for the purpose of making the folks pay more attention to these suffer victims under this somehow problematic judicial system. He poured his heart into this target and started by holding an exhibition of another sufferer and taking part in more related activity like signing the petition, which is hosted by Judicial Reform Foundation. He even double majored in diplomacy and law, for he thinks law as a mighty tool to help the relatively underprivileged groups by using the expertise. Seeing the patient and the sense of justice within him, I sincerely pray for the society can be improved imperceptibly by this force of good. And I am able to find the tinder inside my heart just like him.
Minjin is my best friend who I met in high school. This year, her dream came true. She became a high school ethics teacher. When we were in high school, she really liked to teach other friends, so everyone said she would be a teacher. She thinks that teaching can be rewarded and can grow up together. Furthermore, while she studied ethics, she was interested in the philosophy of exploring the fundamental questions necessary in life, such as what my goal is and what kind of person I will be. So she wanted to be an ethics teacher who teaches philosophy like that. After graduating from the Department of Ethics Education, she took the appointment examination and became a high school teacher this year. I was so happy when I heard that my friend was accepted, because I knew how hard she tried to become a teacher. And she's teaching students as she's imagined. Of course, she doesn't know if her students will be satisfied with her class, but she finds it a very attractive job in that a teacher can be of any help to students in class or life guidance. Sometimes it may be hard and exhausting, but she constantly studies and tries to become a good teacher.
Don't hesitate to do anything you think is right. My friend Boris, who has just finished his journey in Europe for 6 months, told me. He has traveled to around 15 countries, starting from Italy, then going eastward to Greece, Croatia, and Malta, sailing back west side to Germany, France, and Spain, and moving north to the UK, and so on. Wow, it sounds like a fantastic trip, I said. Not at all, he replied. Europe now is facing several challenges. I witnessed a severe refugee issue in Greece. A female came toward me, begging for money, while I was in a restaurant and ready to go. In just that moment I hesitated for only a second. She was kicked off by the owner. She was in a rage, and suddenly the two wrestled together. It was horrible. I felt guilty, not only because I hesitated to give what I could offer, but also because I left quite an amount of food on my plate. I should be more grateful for what I have now, and be braver to stand out to make the right thing done.
My friend Cici is from Hong Kong. He is a freshman of NCCU who has participated in anti-extradition bill protest in 2019. When the protest occurred, Cici was only a junior high school student. He thought he should not disregard the activity which was deeply related to Hong Kong people's future, so he attended it without hesitation. Looking back on the protest, Cici mentioned that the most impressive thing was the students being shot by police just 50 miles away from his home. He suddenly realized that every protesters were risking their lives to protect their rights. At that time, he didn't chicken out due to the shooting incident, but kept going supporting the frontline people. The most important thing Cici has learned from the protest is independent judgment. He pointed out that the protesters were volunteers, so there was not any leader in the whole activity. This kind of composition caused their internal opinions to diverge more often, and a person would easily act impulsively and make wrong decisions. In this case, rational ability of judgment became very essential. Nowadays, we all know the struggle situation of Hong Kong, although there is no happy ending. As a Hong Konger, Cici still wants to put effort to prevent people from forgetting. He hopes that the public can continue paying attention to Hong Kong. Maybe there can be no going back. The good old days will be preserved in his heart forever.
During the past, I hate God. Why me? Why couldn't I just be normal? But now, my thoughts are different. I am grateful to God for the challenge, not only because it has made me meet many people, but also because it made me become a better person and even find my new dream. Since having caught a rare disease due to viral infection, Xiao Chen got lost and didn't know the meaning of life. He couldn't do many simple things. Of course, he was rebellious and depressed for a while at that time. Later, he rebuilt his confidence by painting. Then, he made a lot of improvements in his grades. He ended up going to university and majoring in computer science. He decided to help other people with disabilities not be under the dark cloud of depression, just like other people help him. Xiao Chen used an automatic wheelchair as transportation every day. His life was not easy. However, after making friends with him, I learned that he takes everything in life so seriously and completes the tasks very well. In addition, he is so unbelievably optimistic. Most people can't imagine being under the circumstances, and definitely not everyone can be as brave as him. Both the painting he gave me and this friend are great gifts in my life. Xiao Chen lets me know that maybe everything in life happens for certain reasons, even if it's good or bad. No matter what, we need to face every difficulty because that's the true meaning of life.
My teacher Cici is a Taiwanese who studied in Australia for a few years, and it's those years that have influenced her viewpoint of education. She often hears people saying that they do not hate English but hate tests. So when I asked her about her education belief, she said that she wants students to have fun and love English from the bottom of their hearts. She wants to help students attain and utilize the tool English. The biggest problem she has encountered in her career life is that it's hard to deal with students' emotions. Nonetheless, she tried hard to understand their concerns and empathize with them. She would teach them according to their aptitude and personality. At the end of the interview, I wonder what makes her devote herself to education. She said that she was appealed by its sustainability. What students learn would keep them company for a lifespan. It's like she's still there with them. I appreciate her presence and the effort she has done. As the German philosopher and psychologist Edward Spender said, education can be successful only in a loving environment. Maybe if we put more love and care into education, the students can enjoy learning and someday love learning itself.
My friend, Leo, lived in a warm and harmonious family when being an innocent child, so he loved to show what happened at school to his parents every day. Until senior high school, everything becomes different. Because of academic pressure and poor communication between his parents, he chose to lock himself in his room, trying to escape negative emotions. Finally, he lost himself and the meaning of life. Worst of all, he attempted to self-injury to let him feel he's still alive. After entering in university, he keeps a diary every day to relieve stress. By doing this, he can talk to himself and understand why he feels sad or angry on that day. Importantly, he finds that he feels happier than before. Lastly, he would like to tell everyone, before looking for someone to appreciate you, you need to understand yourself first. Love yourself, cherish yourself.
What is meaningful in the face of death? My mother Wang Huacheng have got cervical cancer for 5 years. During these years, she had gone through numerous moments between life and death, including several major surgeries, cancer recurrences, and metastases. However, she hasn't been beaten by the difficulties. She conquered them with big smiles and a positive attitude. She accepted the condition as soon as possible. When I asked my mother how to adjust her mindset, here is the answer. Everyone will come, everyone will go. Nothing is a big matter in the face of death. People should learn how to live well before they die. You can't choose your life, but you can choose your lifestyle. Someone chooses to be cowardly and painful. Someone chooses to be leisurely and disturbable. I prefer to be the latter. What I learned from my mother is her variance and perseverance. As everyone knows, someone you understand the truth deeply, but you just can't really do as you thought. However, my mother's actions are consistent with her words. She never shows her sorrow and weakness in front of me. Only God knows how many torments she had swallowed in the middle of night. She still chose to live with a positive attitude. Thanks to my mom, when I was up against the brick wall, her words remind me and I begin to change my mind. Sometimes the difficulties will be the turning point if you treat it with different point of view. Remember using the time to do the right things wisely because life is short but beautiful. You don't have time to be timid. What is
My studying in Taiwan is very supported by my mother Sanai Horyuchi. I interviewed my mother about her life in Canada, the results of studying abroad and how she feels about her sons studying in NCCU. At Canadian College, she studied English so hard that she can speak English as natural as native pronunciation. A way of studying is, for example, listening English song and write down those lyrics, watch news program or reading paper, and imitate pronunciation. After the interview, I renewed my determination to study Mandarin. Now I am very confused by Mandarin full accents, especially in listening. However, I know so many people help my studying in Taiwan. I have to talk to many persons and brush up my Mandarin ability.
Half a century ago, Guilin Street in the old district of Taipei was crowded with more than 50 second-hand bookstores, and the street was full of book lovers, literature, and history workers who came to hunt for treasures. However, with the decline of the second-hand book market and the rise of e-books, nowadays there are only 2 second-hand bookstores on Guilin Street. One of them is Songlin Bookstore. People who pass by the bookstore will see the 4 Chinese characters, Songlin Suju, with ancient charm on the plaque, and then they will see the mountains of old books peel up at the store entrance. Cai Minghuan, the second generation owner, had opened the door at 9 o'clock in the morning for over 60 years. He was always lying on the recliner in front of the store. Such a scene seems to be frozen in time, and it has almost become a common memory of several generations of people on Guilin Street. When I walk into the store, the third generation owner, Cai Tongming, eloquently explained to me the production method and the cultural value of each old book, and his eyes flash with the glory of the books from the past. Despite the wave of the internet and the fire accident, the Cai family still holds on the last few used bookstores. Guilin Street is where I grew up. Every time the Songlin bookstore is open as usual, the street is waiting for the book lovers coming, and the culture of collecting books still exists in Taiwanese modern society.
Judy, presented by Lee. Being an English school teacher for almost 10 years, Judy believes in no pain, no gain. She has been preparing for the post officer exam for 8 years, and she thinks she will get the job after persisting. Her dream is to teach in rural areas. Because of tuition concerns, she couldn't apply for graduate school in education directly. She finally decided to be a post officer first, and apply for on-the-job training to fulfill her dream. Why persist so long? At first, I was in occupational burnout. Teaching English is not interesting to me. The most attractive thing about my job is the process of chatting with different students. After realizing it, I decided to change my career, and I found the post officer pamphlet by chance. I just naturally started preparing for it, she answered. I admire her determination. If I was her, I couldn't persist for so long after falling several times. She did what I can do, and that's the reason I appreciate her.
Carmen is from Malaysia. In my view, she is the strong and diligent person. Though these personalities often make her feel stressed and tired, she never fails to manage things well. I want to share a story about her that really touched me. Studying in China had always been her dream since Carmen was 8. When she finally got the admission notice delivered from her dream college, the coronavirus outbreak is continuing to grow. Foreigners are not allowed to enter China. In other words, if studying in China, Carmen has to join online classes for at least 1 semester. This is definitely not what she expected. After a terrible struggle for Carmen to make the final decision, she refused the chance and turned to NCCU. Life here is not bad, but totally different from her imagination. What's more, Letting go of the chance to fulfill her lifelong goal is another torture beside the homesickness. Carmen found out that persistent feelings of regret can help her pass the sadness. She started to participate in all kinds of activities and try new things or challenges. Dealing with frustration is still an annoying issue, but now she is able to consider setbacks her power to grow. Living in this changeable world, maybe all of us should learn how to substitute expectation for appreciation. Life is an exercise in living with the certainty of uncertainty. It is under no obligation to give us what we expect. That is what I learned from Carmen's story.
Life is the journey of exploring who you are. When the first time I saw the desk of my roommate Melody, I wondered why a person who majored in statistics could have so many books of law without any of them related to statistics. I used to think she must have a double major in law, but after chatting with her, I was amazed by her decision. When she was a sophomore, she realized that she had no passion for statistics and was confused about her future path. However, while she was taking the required course in mercantile law at the same time, she found the real passion in her life. From that day on, she made a brave decision to change her department from statistics to law. During the one-year preparation, it was common for Melody to face frustrations, but that was her passion to keep supporting her to keep going. Now, when her friends from the Department of Statistics are talking about graduation, she is a sophomore in the Department of Law. However, she has no regrets about her decision. Making a life-changing decision and putting it into action needs courage and perseverance. We are young now, so it's time for us to explore and try. Sometimes, frustrations and failures are nutrients of growth and chances in our life, so don't be afraid of being out of the norm. Remember to be brave, be confident, and just be yourself.
Zhongni, my next-door neighbor/best friend, is currently a product manager. She has been to 18 countries, so I asked her which country you have been to is the most interesting. Morocco, she answered with no hesitation. Started with an interlude during the visit. She almost got scammed by the time she went to Morocco with two of her female friends. In the morning, the friend of the Airbnb's owner said that there was a huge dyeing factory nearby and he wanted to take them to visit. They immediately said yes and went to the so-called dyeing factory. Once they arrived, a wrecked, abandoned dyeing factory came into view, which didn't seem that it still worked. After the short guided tour, they were taken to a piazza that was surrounded by the locals. The locals asked 10 euros per person for the tour fee, but Ni and her friends didn't want to pay this much for a shabby tour. They had been trapped in the middle of the square until one of her friends came up with a brilliant idea. The friend took out a bar of candy called Longjiaosan out of her bag and acted like it was a rare medicine from China. First, in order to trick them into believing, they only gave them one piece of candy. The locals bought it and asked them to hand over more. They acted like they didn't want to at all, as the guys kept asking. Finally, after a long negotiation, they gave the whole bar to them and left without paying any money. So then, what makes a journey special? I think it's not about how marvelous the scenery is. It is the unexpected things that make a trip unforgettable.
My friend Ricardo is from Portugal, and now he studies in IDIS department in NCCU. He studied in Nanjing for 1 year. That was the first time for him to go to a place that was far from his hometown. Sometimes it was difficult for him because of language and cultural barriers. After finishing his master's degree, there was an opportunity for him to work as a lecturer in a university in Beijing. When he worked there, people would expect more from him because they paid his salary to him. so he needed to adapt their working culture. During the pandemic of COVID-19, he left China and returned to Portugal. The situation became worse and worse. Although he had the resident permit, he could not return to China because China's government blocked everywhere. As a consequence, he lost his house where he was renting, and everything was left there. This situation made him angry and he decided never to go back to China. Then he wanted to do a PhD, so he came to Taiwan. He likes the city of Taipei because it is in contact with nature, and Taiwanese are friendly to each other. He has been to Taiwan only for 1 year, and he thinks he will stay here for a long time.
Eamon is from Hong Kong. 3 years ago, he came to Taiwan to enjoy the air of freedom. Anyway, he likes to drink. But there is one thing he is different from others. He has researched and studied on alcoholic beverages, especially whiskey. He is now working as a bartender in a bistro. He is very interested in whiskey industry. Therefore, he wants to go to Scotland for working holiday. The global whiskey market is almost dominated by Scotland. I had no idea when he introduced. In my eyes, he is very good at planning and willing to take on new challenges, such as diving, paragliding. I'm always afraid to try new things because of fear, and his lifestyle is completely different from mine. He shows me that there are infinite possibilities to break through. He also often invites me to whiskey tasting, swimming, and other activities. Moreover, he made me understand that life could be planned differently. It is not necessary to find a job as soon as possible after graduation. I appreciate his courage and self-confidence.
This is my mom. Brave, open-minded, humorous, and kind are adjectives that I would use to describe her. Also, I would say that she is successful at parenting, and I have learned a lot from her. I still remember the most unforgettable lesson she taught me, which was forgiveness. It was my last year in junior high school. During that year, I was harshly bullied. I had no friends at school, and what made matters worse, I didn't know who and where to ask for help. The stress, insecurity, and disappointment almost crushed me. One night, I plucked up the courage and told my mom everything. She listened to me patiently as usual. However, to my surprise, instead of leaving the task of finding out a solution to me as she always did, she gave me an instruction directly. She said, "Let's forgive them." At that moment, I could not understand why my mother said that. My mom didn't explain, and again she said, "Let's forgive them." Years passed by, and weeks ago, I asked her, "Why did you insist me to forgive them?" She smiled and changed the subject. Actually, I've already known the answer. She had me forgive them because it was the most difficult but the best way to make me feel better. And there is no need to explain why. My mom taught me how to forgive people in the best way.
My friend Betty, born in a family with 4 children, she was inevitably compared with siblings by her family, and always considered to be the least intelligent one. When taking the college entrance exam, it didn't go smoothly. She failed to get into her ideal school but just a private university. In her senior year, she decided to continue her study in graduate school. This time, however, she failed again. She wasn't admitted by any school. Instead of feeling discouraged, she chose to seize any chance that could help her to grow. She started to prepare for a bank's training program. In the process, she was stopped by her family, feeling tired and almost gave up. Fortunately, in the end, She stood out from the competition. Her hard work paid off. I appreciate her spirit of not being defeated by setback, but keep running towards her goals. It let me know that as long as we don't give up, one day we can achieve our dream.
Everything is unpredictable. Matthias is my roommate from Germany. He is quite active and likes to hike and travel, so he has various experiences and told one of them, the most impressive story. It happened in Mozambique. He saw some people doing weird stuff in front of him and thought they were doing gymnastics at first because they wanna get silver, but later realized that they were in a fight. He didn't wanna get involved in this fight because last time he was in one, he got punched badly and wasn't able to walk for like 2 months. But one guy in the fight was asking him for help, and it was hard to say no. It was 3 guys and 2 were attacking one whose phone was stolen by them. And Matthias told them in Portuguese to calm down, karma. At first it worked, they calmed down, but it wasn't long before they started hitting. Luckily, one old guy came to them and asked him if everything was alright, and he says that I wanna have it sorted out. And the old guy told him to go away to not get robbed. Matthias answered, I only go away when this situation is clear. Fortunately, the old man solved the situation well, and the guy got his phone back, so it was happy ending, but it could have gone badly without the help. What Matthias would like to say is that everything is unpredictable and we should live helping each other.
My friend Alice is a multi-talented person who devotes herself in music and has many different hobbies in her free time. She is an indie singer and songwriter. She wrote all the lyrics of her songs and made all the music videos of Link on her own. In her spare time, she enjoys cooking, baking, reading tarot, weaving, and dancing. Although these are just hobbies rather than serious jobs, she did them quite well. As her best friend, sometimes I surprise the amazing work she does and wonder how could she do so many things. I'm just an impatient person and can stand the urge when I really want to do something, she said. She doesn't like to put things off because procrastination will kill the patience and motivation. People might think I'm confident about myself and the thing I'm doing, but actually I'm just chill and accepting the outcome, whether it's good or bad. Instead of trying to reach certain expectation, she sets minimum standard. She thought, if you don't have expectation, you have no limit. Unlike her, I always do things when I fully prepare and want it to be done perfectly. Her philosophy helps me to find a balance between perfection and reality. With proactive action and relaxed soul, she creates her own colorful and lively life.
Yao Ling from Thailand is my master classmate in NCCU because she didn't like being ruled by the current military government. She left her country, Thailand, and went to Taiwan. After graduating from university, she started working in duty-free shops in Phuket, a world-famous tourist destination. Due to the COVID, Thailand locked down the city and foreign tourists dropped significantly. She adjusted her working hours, so she thought about studying in Taiwan. She worked as a Chinese customer service in Phuket, serving 90% of the local Chinese tourists in Phuket and assisting in solving their problems. She hopes that after graduation, she can work and live in Taiwan.
Kam Ling is my mother. She's Malaysian. She was a stay-at-home mom and she raised 3 kids. One of us has Down syndrome, which is my youngest brother. Down syndrome is one of the most common chromosome abnormality in humans. There is no cure for Down syndrome. My mother had learned from the nurse how to take better care of my brother without any complaints. My younger brother was born without an illness, so my mother used different of thickness candles into the urns until he was 3 years old. At first, my mother did not know my brother was speeding out while he too hungry. Hence, my mother will set an alarm every 3 hours. We hope he can talk with us. Therefore, my family members often talk to my brother and let him know this is the sky, that one is a bird. Out of the blue, my brother spoke elder sister at his very first time and even his first word. My mother made me feel admirable and worth learning. She doesn't give up easily. She always finds a way to solve different problems and she doesn't blame everyone for everything.
My mom is a very traditional woman, living with her own principles that are hard to break, and many of which have been passed down to me. She has tolerated all the burden and taken on responsibilities to support my family. Having been living with no budget concern for most of my life so far, we owe her a thank you. Though that can never be enough because she is now suffering from dementia. All these burdens and responsibilities she has experienced have crushed her. At least, that's what I think. We being the children of hers, there's only one thing we can do to accompany her. Parents are the glue for us siblings to cling together. Without them around, are we still going to stick together and look out for each other, especially after everyone has their own family? Cherish your time with your family because you could never know if your folks can still remember who you are and look at you the same way.